in my experience, athletes are mentally and emotionally toast before they even become physically burnt out. It's not that you don't want to go through with the experience. It's just that it seems to have like consumed your life.
Good morning, Coach.
Happy Monday. Today is May 13th, 2019. Welcome aboard the Crushing Iron Podcast, episode 268.
Yeah, come on.
I know, man.
267.
Anyway, try not to get ahead of myself, but it's hard to. It's a big week. But again, before we get into the big week, that is definitely a big week for you, big week for me, big week for, I know, a ton of our listeners. So yeah, at least 8 or 9 of you guys tuning in right now. We know you got big weeks. But thanks for joining us. If it's your first time listening, we have a huge back catalog of, like we said, 266 to go back and look. We come to you every Monday and Thursday and have been for what will be our third year this coming, I believe, October. And website, crushingiron.com. Check it out, peruse it, and maybe even while you're listening, it'll probably make things make a lot more sense.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, a lot of people seem to be getting some things from this.
Well, yeah, I mean, yeah, like
we're not the oversell.
We are not, but maybe we should start.
Yeah, we gotta find.
I would like to, and this is kind of, I know this is going to really crush some souls today, but I'd like to announce our new sponsor.
Oh boy, yeah, it's just a crush my soul too. Go for it.
The Holiday Inn on Chestnut in Chattanooga has become our sponsor for this week, and they're giving us zero money, but they have allowed us to use their banquet rooms for free on Friday and Sunday. I feel like that's somewhat of a sponsorship.
That's pretty good. Yeah, I mean we're only paying them.
Yeah, so we'll be sending
10
out
grand.
Holiday Inn flat bill trucker hats, and all of our athletes can now do hashtag sponsored when after we race this weekend. But no,
and we'll be wearing our last minute Larry shirts.
Yeah, we'll be definitely rocking our last minute Larry shirts. But no, we will be in Chattanooga this weekend for the Chattanooga 70.3, as will, I know, a huge contingency from our team. And a lot of our listeners as well. So pumped for that. There was a pretty big weekend too of racing. A lot of athletes in Ironman Santa Rosa went down. It was fun tracking that on Saturday. And then a late but happy Mother's Day to all the Crushing Iron moms out there. We know there are quite a few of you listening, and we hope you had a wonderful day, and we hope to make your Monday just a little bit brighter.
Yeah, and just as you said that, the sun started peeking out over here.
Oh, it's been out here all morning.
Really? Yeah, I live in East Nashville. It's a little darker over here. It's a little bit Eastern Europe kind of feel to it. Yeah. The old Eastern European bloc.
I have no idea.
Before the wall went down.
You know what it was like before the wall went down?
Well, no, I'm just saying maybe that's kind of what it feels like this morning. Yeah, okay. But now it looks like the wall is coming down and the sun is coming up. And we're sharing the love with the rest of Nashville.
And that is your history lesson for today. I
had a big history discussion last night, but we won't go into that.
Yeah, let's not go into that. We've already lost enough listeners already. So
no, people like history. The history of triathlon. That is what today is about. It started
definitely not
with wooden arrow bars. Well, no, it didn't even start with that. But
no, they didn't have back then. I got a topic today. But race
weather?
Week, you're
race
usually
week weather.
Not race week weather.
I just finished checking. We're looking good.
Really?
Well, for me.
Okay.
Thunderstorms.
I don't know.
I was just thinking about that. You know, like how much.
I don't know if storms are going to happen, but let's just be honest. It's going to be a hot one.
It looks pretty hot, yeah. Cool water and hot air. That's the way I want it.
It doesn't matter what 2 days of the year they wanted to schedule Chattanooga 70.3 or the full. It could be in the dead of winter or early spring or late fall. Guess what, folks? It's going to be hot. And it's funny because if it fell on this last weekend, it would have been perfect. Like yesterday here, as you know, was just like, it was a little bit cool and it was overcast.
Yeah. I know.
But then I doubt they're going to have any storms at all on Sunday, but that's just typical when it gets that hot. They might call for some, but it looks like, high 80s is what we're going to be rolling with, which, hey, it'll be tough conditions. It'll be fair conditions, but I like those kind of conditions personally, and I like it when the athletes that we work with have opportunities to race in those conditions, because I feel like it gives you a really, really good opportunity to show your patience and dedication, and ultimately your ability to execute based on what the weather and the conditions and the course is giving you on that day. And as I'm sure many athletes know, if two people come in with the same amount of fitness, or even one person comes in with greater fitness, if you're smarter and you have more patience and you execute to the day better than the person who may or may not have equal or greater than fitness, your likelihood of beating them to the finish line is much, much better. And so I can't tell you. So I most of the athletes we work with are very, very mindful, and I think very good at executing their race plan. So while it probably won't be the greatest or fastest conditions for a lot of athletes, with it being hot, and a lot of athletes I know coming in from the Midwest or some of the northern states where it's been like 40s and 50s and the lakes are just not one thawing, and this will be a little bit unsettling. But the greatest way to train for heat is fitness, and you can definitely do a little bit of heat acclimation to help, but there is no greater kind of mitigating factor than just really increased fitness. So it doesn't really matter how much you've trained in the heat. If you have really, really good fitness, it's going to help, because if you take an athlete who's gone and trained at an 11-minute mile in the heat, even if they're heat trained, they're probably going to still fatigue a little bit to an 11:15 mile, or even 11:20 or 11:30. Or if you take somebody who has trained really well and focused awesome and been really consistent and has really great fitness, and they're averaging 8:15 to 8:30s with no heat acclimation, they're still probably going to be able to hang out somewhere in the high 8s. So as important as heat acclimation is, fitness trumps that every day of the week. Short little infomercial from
I think it's
Youre.
good. I think that's good. I think it's true.
Just
I mean, we can all sit in saunas
like,
all day all we want, but if we're not in good shape, it's not going to help.
It's like, are you sacrificing like 30 minutes extra running every day to go sit in the sauna? Like, because listen, the greatest game plan for any race is first and foremost a great base of awesome fitness. So, and don't be the person out there this week that's going to go do a hard workout on the treadmill with don't go all Lionel Sanders. Don't put like a parka on and 4 space heaters to go run on your treadmill and feel like that's going to get you race ready. What it's going to do is it's going to absolutely crush you. And it's going to take you like 4 days to recover from. So don't do that to yourself. You kind of are who you are right now. So the best thing you can do is get off your feet, stay cool, take in your fluids, get ready for race day, and just do the best you can. And I have faith that everyone listening and our athletes will definitely take that to heart and execute a plan that they have laid out for them and do great. So again, there is no, it's like buying an aero helmet and expecting to get free speed so you don't train on the bike as much. Like, there is no substitute for fitness and preparation. And so if you've trained well and you've put in a lot of hard work and you've gained a lot of fitness, don't stress over a couple sauna sessions. Okay? Deal?
Yeah, I was reading about my aero helmet. I was thinking about getting an update because mine's falling apart. It's not like, it's a attack version of.
Yeah, I know it. I've seen it.
You know it well. It's painted up. It's starting to fall apart. I was looking at it. I read it saves. They think it saves an estimated 17 seconds at 25 miles an hour over the course of an hour. It's like, oh.
So on those downhills, dude, you're going to be crushing it.
Oh, I know.
Yeah, you're going to be absolutely demolishing people, but you're going to look cool.
See, my strategy is just to get in the water like as early as I can, get out, and then get off the bike as fast as I can, so it's not as hot. Is that a good strategy, Coach?
It's not. Okay, can I just tell you my life for the rest of the week? It's let's see, it's 9/11. In the last 45 seconds, I've received the two following text messages. It's race weekend Monday, so that means extra anxiety. And then from a separate person, Hey, coach, with the heat, 2 questions: aero helmet or aero road helmet? Sleeves or sleeveless wetsuit? We could probably do like a live Q&A with this being race week and answer some of these questions that are going to be coming in. But I feel like a solid topic I wanted to go into today.
No, I know. We're just warming up, dude. We'll get into your topic here in a second.
Okay, all right. So
I'm just saying, I'm walking around. My back hurts a little bit. My shins kind of.
Yeah, of course it does. Take a look back in our archive.
Started to get a little nervous.
Podcast last week. So let me address the first one. With the heat, 2 questions: aero helmet or aero road helmet? Aero helmet. So here's something you have to think about. Is it going to be warm? Sure, but let's all take a step back and understand that when you see 88 or 89 or 90, which it's been flirting with here the past couple of days, that ain't what you're gonna be racing in. You have to worry more about the humidity than you have to worry about the heat. So if you've been a person who's practiced a lot on the trainer and not had a lot of cooling, I would say definitely rock the aero helmet, but it's also about how long you're going to be on the bike and how quickly you anticipate yourself getting in the water. But it's also about what the temp's actually going to be by the time you get off your bike. Because, like, let's say it's even 90. By 10 o'clock, it's probably only going to be 74 or 75 degrees. And while that course I wouldn't say is super shaded, it's got some fairly shaded sections. You've done it a couple times. You've done the full. I've done the half once.
If the greenway's open, is the course fine?
I'm talking about the bike course.
Oh, the bike course. Okay.
Yeah, we're talking about aero helmets here, Mike. We're not talking about.
I thought you said when you get off the bike.
No, I mean, I'm saying like the bike course itself is, like I said, it's not totally shaded, but it's definitely not.
It's like riding through a forest, man.
It's not definitely not like a bike ride like Muncie, where there's like 0 trees, but. So I would say it's fairly shaded for most bike courses. So I would say rock the aero helmet and just chill out for a second. So then the sleeve or no sleeve thing, wetsuit thing, like I am totally against sleeveless wetsuits. I don't. If you have a good fitting wetsuit, then wear it. Sleeves aren't going to make you overheat. It's what's going to be covering your core, which is a wetsuit. So unless you have a coreless wetsuit, then I would suggest rocking the full sleeves. Now, listen, I would do one of 2 things. Either rock a wetsuit or don't rock a wetsuit. There's no... And we've had this one of our most...
versus a sleeveless.
Yes. One of our most... Because if you're worried about overheating, then stop covering your core up with 7 millimeters of neoprene. Like, your arms aren't going to overcook. If you want a little bit extra speed, then just get on there and float like the rest of people. Like, I think one of our most popular blogs ever was when I think I went on a limb and told people not to wear their wetsuit at Ironman Chattanooga back in 2015, maybe 14.
Yeah.
That's a long deep dive in the archives. But yeah, if you're going to wear a wetsuit, wear one with sleeves, especially if it fits you. If you feel like you're going to overheat, then just don't wear a wetsuit. Because the sleeves aren't going to... Listen, people who wear no sleeves usually do it because they feel like their arms are too restricted, their shoulders are too restricted, their arms hurt when they do it. It has nothing to do with heating or overheating.
It's anxiety, too, though.
It's anxiety. So, listen, like, again, don't choose between sleeveless... Like, again, unless you have one of these, like, brand new, awesome Roka, super, cyberplasted, coreless wetsuits. Just either rock a full or don't rock a full, and make your choice then. But again, it's not going to make near as much of a difference in a swim like this when, at least if it's going to be even remotely close to last year, they're going to do, I don't know, 50 meters upstream and across and then down. So it's going to be one of your quicker swims. So yeah, again, I wouldn't like. Again, all the more reason to rock a wetsuit. If the water temp is wetsuit legal, it's going to be cool. Then I would definitely go with it. I would definitely go with the wetsuit because it's going to be cool enough that's going to be the wetsuit legal. So wear one, and then the biggest thing is you're not going to be in the water that long. It's not like you're going to be in there for a full. So wear the wetsuit. They have wetsuit strippers there. As soon as you get out of the water, you run down a little bit, drop on your behind, let them rip it off you, and then you're all off on your merry way. Now, I wouldn't do what a lot of people do, and like you'll see people hopping on the bus to take it over to the swim start, like already with their swim cap on, their goggles on, and their wetsuit like zipped up to the max. Please, dear God, don't be that person. Don't even have your swim cap on, because like it's the worst idea ever. Hey, I'm thinking about overheating today. I don't know. Let me cover up my head where all my heat escapes, and let me cover it with latex, and then let me wrap a pair of really tight goggles around it. You know what? And that's a really good idea. Then I'm going to hop on a bus with no air conditioning, and I'm going to travel over the other side. I'm already going to be nervous. My heart's going to be climbing. And then, you know what? Let's just sit and bake for another 30 to 40 minutes. No, worst idea ever. So you see anybody on the bus that's like that, tap them on the shoulder, say, hey, man, take that cap off. Put it on at the last minute. Is it fine around your waist? Sure, but don't even have that. Just have it around your shoulder. I think a lot of people struggle with their wetsuits. They feel like they're going to be in a rush. Again, this is a rolling start. You got time. There is no, like, you're going to be late for your wave. They don't do that anymore, unfortunately. It's just like kind of, herding you in like cattle. So just pick your place. Just don't be the wetsuited, cow 80 minutes before it starts. Just wait. Wait's like 5 minutes and to get loose, get ready to go, pour a little cold water down the back of your neck, and you're ready to rock.
Mm-hmm. Well, yeah, and if you're worried about how to put one on, I just posted a video of you explaining how to put a wetsuit on without a struggle. Yep. It's on our YouTube page, Crushing Iron YouTube.
News to me.
Yeah. Well,
just give me a heads up in case I get hate mail.
It's on Instagram, too. No, it's getting a lot of really good feedback. C26 Triathlon on Instagram. That's the latest video. You can go up there and check it out. It's a really concise explanation of how to put a wetsuit on without struggling. That's all I'm going to say.
Yeah, I agree.
So you're right. Yeah, let's not put it on too early. And if you do put it on too early, make sure you got some ice water that you can keep pushing inside of it.
Plus, let's be honest, you're all going to need to pee.
Yeah,
by the time you get over on the bus, so I would definitely have it off. I put mine on a little bit too quick last year and had to pee like twice in the last like 5 minutes, but there's a nice little area, like a small patch of grass between the curb and the fence. You can just hike your leg over there and let it rain.
No, we don't endorse it.
Yeah, we don't endorse it.
So
what else? What, you got any anxiety for this week?
No. Not yet. No, I don't have anxiety. I'm actually excited about it.
Yeah,
I'm excited for the opportunity. I feel pretty decent, other than my back and my shins and my upset stomach. But I'm looking forward to racing. I'm looking forward to doing every one of those things, and I think that's kind of rare sometimes. Like, I feel like I'm in decent enough shape where I'm actually gonna, have fun racing it rather than struggling. I'm looking forward to seeing.
Then dreading it.
Yeah, you know what I mean. Like, I think a lot of people are good swimmers or bikers and or runners, and they look forward to certain events, but not the whole race.
For sure. Yeah, like most people just dread the swim. Like their race is basically over when they exit the swim because they're just happy to be out of the water.
Yes, you're right, and they just they relax and then they kind of do their thing. I did sign up for breaking news, Garmin Connect.
Whoa. That's huge news.
I know. That's big. That's big over here in these parts.
Good for you, man. That's a good data collection hub for you.
I've been riding quite a bit with a power meter for the first time this season, and all I could really see was the final numbers. I hadn't, looked at any of the graphs or any of the data per se, and I still haven't really. It's just that I'm moving that direction, buddy.
Well, we're all getting that direction, and if you're going that way, then the world is headed in the right direction.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
All right, can we get to my topic now?
Let me think what else I got going on here. Let's get to your topic.
Thank God. If we covered some good things there in the interim, but I wanted to talk a little bit today because it seems to be ever present, and I get constantly reminded of this as I watch. Because listen, we have an awesome group on Facebook, Crushing Iron Group. If you're not a part of it and you'd like to be a part of the conversation, you can get on Facebook and search Crushing Iron Group, and we'll let you in. It's a great place for lots of information, experience, wisdom. People want to give you tips and hopefully help you solve some of your problems or answer some of your questions. It's a very, very polite group, very open, and so definitely feel comfortable asking away. But so as we have access to that, I have access to the athletes that we work with, and just obviously if you're in the sport in general, you probably have friends who compete and do things. And I think this weekend too, like I just can't help but continue to see and hear about the level and the amount of hours that people put in year round, or even focusing a year out to do something like a 70.3 or a full distance, and the amount of hours that they're spending, like 16 or 20 weeks even out from their race. And we've talked about this before. Like in my experience, athletes are mentally and emotionally toast before they even become physically burnt out. And the reason for that is that, and the reason some things have to probably change with a lot of athletes, is that it takes so much. Like, and we compare this all the time to like people who get engaged and then want this like a really long engagement. People think long engagements are probably a good thing. I probably think they're like actually terrible. But Alan had a fairly short engagement, like 4 or 5 months. Even I know by the end of that time, there's so much time invested. There's so much money invested. There's so much things to think about. And it's kind of stressful. By the end of like it, you're like, you know what? I don't even care. Cancel it all. Let's go to City Hall, and then we'll invite everybody over to our house, and we'll have a party. And I just want it to be done with. It's not that you don't want to go through with the experience. You don't want to get married. You don't want to do this great thing. It's just that it seems to have like consumed your life. Everything you do, every waking moment, every page and search engine on your website has something to do with Ironman or water temp or what's the best wetsuit or what's a tri bike or what kind of running volume should I be putting in? Should I do speed workouts? Should I be doing speed workouts? Should I be doing 8-hour bike rides? Should I run the distance? Should I bike the distance? Should I swim the distance? If I'm not swimming the distance, should I get in a wetsuit? How many times a week should I get in open water? How many times should I train in the pool? And like how many yards should I put in the bush? Should I do the distance? Should I run a marathon before I do the full Ironman? Because if I don't run a marathon, how do I know I can do the distance? How many century rides? Because I know century rides is super important because the bike's 112 miles, and if I don't know 112 miles in training, I don't know how I'm going to do 112 miles on the bike, because then I have to do 26 miles on the run. Bricks. I don't even know what to talk about bricks. Bricks are super confusing, but how am I going to run 26 miles off the bike on 112 miles if I don't do really long bricks? Like, is 10 miles too long? Is 15 miles too long? I should probably do at least a century ride and then a 20-mile run off the bike, because if I don't do that, then how am I going to be ready? Because if you run off the bike, then running off the bike is totally specific. It's actually a totally different sport. If you run off the bike, it's totally different. So you have to run off the bike all the time, because if you get in a race and get in triathlon, you won't know how to run. If you don't run off the bike, you won't know how to run. You'll walk at a T2 and you'll have to walk because you won't have done any bricks. So what about bricks? How long do I do them? Then what about shoes? The shoes have to be different. T1 and T2, how often do I even have to go to those? What do I need? Is somebody going to help me with? And then if I have to wetsuit, do you swim in a wetsuit? Can you swim in a wetsuit in a pool? If you can't swim in the pool, then where do you train? And it's chlorine bathers and you eat holes in it. And then how do you dry it? Inside out or right side out?
Good luck with that one, Howard.
Good luck with that one, Howard Schuyler. He's going to think he's got it on fast forward 4.
Yeah, no, I just know to let you know that you're on the right pace here.
But
woo. And what about what should I eat today?
Yeah, exactly. And I'm not even talking about nutrition or like.
I was having dinner last night with some friends, and they said we were grilling out, and my buddy goes, "Pick up some chips too." And she looks at me and she goes, "Oh, but can you eat those right now?" I said, "Dude, I can eat anything. I don't constrict my diet like that." But anyway, that was just a little, but you're right.
That's like a day in the life of a person who's never done one or super new to the sport, and there's so much information out there, and it's so much of it is conflicting. So the same thing can be said, like, the analogy I'm using when you're getting married. It's like, how many people, who to invite, who to not invite. Then you got, how many grooms, how many, you could do it like me and have one. You were mine, and then Allie did one, and we had 50, 60 people over in a backyard and had a good time. Mm-hmm. But for most people, it's like this huge, huge event. And so all this planning, all these logistics, all these decisions, constant consuming thoughts all the time. And so it's not that it's not that you don't want to do this, is that like you've expended all of your mental and emotional energy before you even get to the day. And I see so many athletes focusing on an event 8 months out, 12 months out, even a lot of times 6 months out is too far away to immediately focus on something that's going to happen in 6, or 6 months, 8 months, or a year. Because what happens is not only do you get mentally and emotionally exhausted, but you end up training for a person you've already decided you're going to be based on who you are right now, instead of going through phases of figuring out what your limiters are, figuring out what you need to do, figuring out it's just all the simple things that people like to skip, because that's a world we live in now. It's either there's really no between. It's train for an Ironman in 30 days, or here's your 36-month Ironman plan. There's really nothing in between. It's just like do it fast and do it quick, and totally skip everything that says you need to actually take time to do this and do it correctly, or it's the long-term vision, 36 months, start today and then in here. But again, it's all about long-term mental and emotional energy that's put towards one event in one day that's now become so consuming and so pressure-filled that it almost like robs you of the joy of it.
Oh, man. And then the bad weather happens and the whole thing's ruined.
Oh, the whole thing. Like, are you even an Ironman? You did 140.3.5 miles. That's not 140.6. How dare you go buy a jacket? But there's so many things taken into account. And then when you have so what you see a lot is that mental emotional burnout. But that you also see is, I'm gonna slow down. All right, hold on a second. I've had a lot of coffee this morning.
Jeez.
Jeez.
Can you repeat that long thing? I just got to write that down real quick.
I can't. I don't even know what I said. I kind of blacked out.
That's flow state, man.
That is flow state, man.
Flow
That's
state
like
coaching right there.
Doing like a perfect tempo run. It's like, bam, flow state. But anyway, what happens is that people just get not only just mentally, emotionally burnt out, but they begin to train in a way that is no longer about the core of fitness, aerobic and anaerobic development, and how much better you can be and faster and fitter. It now becomes an obsession about duration. So once last minute Larry is 6 months out from his race and he's running 12-minute miles, the focus now becomes, with so many plans you see, that now it's about running an hour and a half at 12-minute miles, and then the next week running an hour and 45 at 12-minute miles. So the purpose for a lot of these plans that you see, and a lot of the focus for even athletes who are just self-coached working off no plan, is it's no longer about becoming fitter, faster, and stronger. It's actually just become about sustaining life on the feet or on the bike at a pace that I've already succumbed to. And so it's about doing that 12-minute mile for now 10 miles and 15 miles and 20 miles, and I have to hold it for that long, instead of going in I wouldn't say the reverse for sure, but going in a direction where you have a phase where it's about basic training and aerobic development. It's about foundational strength and skill, identifying your limiters. Identifying limiters goes both physical and mental. And what oftentimes people tend to always focus on is they always want to look at, okay, what are my swim, bike, run limiters? Okay, I'm a terrible swimmer, 9 out of 10 triathletes. I'm a pretty good runner, and I'm an okay cycler. So that's my order. So obviously, swimming and running maybe in that order. Bike's okay. So maybe swimming is my biggest limiter. But what also needs to be taken into account is the time you have, the time you can train. Because a person who has the availability to do only 8 to 12 hours, only 8 to 12 for the entire build-up, not just this week, but the entire build-up, is going to need to be trained and approached in a way that's different from the athlete who has the availability through the entire time to train maybe 12 to 16. Also needs to be account the limiting factors of where are you mentally and where is your actual, like, how good are you at time management? Because if you're an athlete who has a huge problem getting to the pool or has a huge problem skipping workouts, like, then you don't need to continue. And that's the huge fundamental flaw of anybody who's on a training plan. We provide training plans. I don't mind providing them. I think they have to be provided because financially, athletes, a lot of them can't afford monthly coaching, or they like to go off a training plan. But the fundamental flaw of the training plan is it doesn't adjust day to day. Or if you skip a week, or you do week 13 and you miss 3 workouts, and then the next week you try to cram in and then you overtrain and then you're super tired and you miss another week, then all of a sudden you jump from week 13 to week 17 and your body is like, whoa, I didn't train for this. Oh yeah, but it's on paper. I got to do it. I got to be ready. And so you totally 100 jump on that. And so again, you have to understand your limiters, your family obligations, your time. And then it's just, the biggest part is just understanding the process. Understanding the process that is steps, what most coaches and athletes think would refer to as base building. What is your base building going to look like, and why are you even doing it? And is aerobic development, that beneficial? And why am I not doing track workouts and all these things? And it should be like where you're just kind of infused with information and getting a basic understanding of what the process should look like. And then after that, you move into a different phase that would look more something like, okay, now we've got a good base and a good aerobic. Now it's about expanding that. Maybe adding a little bit of strength. Maybe beginning to address your limiters. Let's say it's swimming, and then time management. How do we fix those? How can we set you up for success? Sport-specific strength, defining your process. So you got your process, you figured out. Now we got to define it. What is it going to be about? How's my approach? How's my body responded? How did it respond in that first phase? And is it what I expected or what we didn't expect? And how do I need to tweak it going forward? And then and only then, if you've moved in the right direction with enough consistency and you've hit the workouts you're supposed to, then you get into something that would be more about race-specific endurance and speed. Resilient, like course descriptions. Like if you're going after a race like Ironman Florida, it's going to be totally different than if you're training for a race like Ironman Wisconsin. And then it's about maximizing your strengths and minimizing your limiters, and just continuing to refine that process. And what happens is, and gets lost, is that people adopt and marry themselves to a specific plan or a specific ideology that has to work, and it must work all the time, even if you might deem or feel like it's successful. And I just kind of want to give 2 examples, if that's okay with you.
Sure, man.
So I want to take 2 athletes, one at a full distance, one at a 70.3 distance. And this athlete competed this last weekend at Ironman Santa Rosa. Did train basically on an average of less than 11 hours for a 70.3 that was on March 17th. After March 17th, a fairly easy week of kind of recovering and not doing too much, just kind of of anything, just kind of staying moving. Mm-hmm. So you're looking at March, the second week of March, and Santa Rosa was less than 2 months later. We're looking at last weekend. And so her actual build was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 weeks, 6 weeks, and then a taper before the big day. She'd been super consistent, had a pretty good load, but the 2 things happen is when you have an athlete who has been super consistent, knows about consistency, loves what they're doing, but then you also put into the account, oh, you know what? I signed up for this Ironman. Yeah, it's a little bit late notice, but I can train for anything for 6 weeks. Then you can usually, especially if they have a really good base in them, you can usually ask more of them than you would had they. And yes, the intensity and the volume distribution would be much different. But a lot of times you still can see really, really good results by just like a 6 or 8 week build with an athlete who's been super consistent. I know it seems like totally counterintuitive, but it's okay. Here's what you need to do. We only got to do it for 6 weeks. Let's just dial it in. You're like, that's like a month and a half. I can totally do that. And so you can ask a little bit more than you might ask. So we did we jumped fairly high. I mean, we went from that 10, 11 hours to we did a 15-hour week, an 18-hour week, a 17-hour week, a 19-hour week, another 19-hour week, and that was it. And then we did a very, very short taper. We only did a very short taper because, to be honest with you, we hadn't built up that much fatigue. Like, it was only a 5 or 6 week build. It wasn't 16 weeks where people are trying to chug in 20 hours all the time. And she did absolutely fantastic. And I don't want to even tell you what the long run is because I think people will get mad. But she did incredibly well. Did like an 11:35 and was 8th in her age group.
Come on, man. What's the long run? Why would people get mad?
Well, so her long run was, she did 17 and she ran the whole marathon. But her long run was 17 miles in the AM, and then she ended up running 5 in the PM later that day. But that's something I want to talk about today, is how important it is to really run and be ready to run those last 6 miles. But that was also on the heels of a 53-mile run week, because it's about weekly volume, not just what you did today. And that was her last big week. But so you're able to, if you have a good base and you've been focusing on strength and speed and strength and speed and strength and speed, like, you're going to be able to cover the course quicker. So that 2-hour run might now become an 1.5-hour run if you're going by distance. But so there's just so many things to take into account. But at the same time, if you get stuck on one of these plans, or you've set yourself up in a plan, and even if it's working, you can't just be totally sold on the fact that it worked its best. And I think that's something that we often get trapped into. And I think sometimes it can be masked as, complacency or like, I'm self-coached, I'm on a plan, which you're fine. There are tons of athletes out there who are self-coached who do just awesome. Like, they just flat out kill it. But there are also all the athletes who say, "Oh, I follow a planner. I'm self-coached, and I'm doing pretty well." And this, on the flip side, I have a coach. I'm doing pretty well, so I don't need any improvement. But there's always things to look at it and dial back on. Like, there's an athlete that I've worked with for going on 3 years now, and we have PR'd every 70.3 we've done every year. But after each one, we have this like short back and forth text message thread of like, "Man, we did pretty good today, but there's just still something missing." Like, we both intuitively feel that this was good, but this isn't what I think we can get out of this relationship. And it's not about being unsatisfied or not grateful.
Right.
It's just about being like, okay, this has been really good. And we've done really well, but is it still the best we got? And so for this next training block, we've just decided to not really turn things upside down, but approach things really, really differently than we have, and it's not sacrilege by any stretch, but it's something that most athletes would be totally 100% afraid to do. Like, I've been PRing every race, I'm doing well. Why would I change anything? I'm going to get slower. But you have to be able to, and as a self-coached athlete or an athlete on a plan, or as a coach, you always have to be willing to change. You can't just stick to it for the sake of just sticking to it. And you can't also not change for the sake of keeping the status quo, which is what a lot of athletes do personally, and then I think a lot of coaches do as well. And I've been scared to do it in the past, is that you're like, oh man, like, we're doing really good. I do not want to change this, because what if I totally screw up? Like, we're happy, we're getting PR, so everybody wants it, but it's not about the time. It's about getting the best out of the athlete that we can get. And so sometimes you have to be willing to make that change, a fairly substantial change in the direction of the training, and say, you know what, like, I think we've been doing good, but I think we can be better. And so let's see if we can figure out what that better is. And just, it's for this specific athlete, it's not about more intensity, and it's not about more volume. It's about different structure. This is based personally on this athlete's specific life, and also behaviors. This athlete really struggles to sleep, is a single parent, and there are a lot of things to navigate in that life that I think we could probably do a better job of taking into account, while also understanding the realization that sleep is huge, and we have to allow for, because sometimes you can't fix bad sleep. You've been a chronic terrible sleeper for as long as I've known you, I think. Like you might sleep in late, but a lot of times you'll have trouble staying asleep, right? Sustained sleep. So sometimes you can't fix that, but what you can maybe fix is your approach and your understanding and acceptance of, okay, I just know they're not going to get a lot of sleep, so we may need to back things off a little bit more than you would probably expect, in anticipation of not being recovered and not getting 8 to 9 hours of sleep, and maybe only getting 5 to 6.
Mm-hmm.
And how can we adjust and manipulate the training to not hold him hostage for that inability, but maybe complement and set him up for success more, knowing what I know about that behavior. And again, like, those are things that training plans can't read, and training plans can't talk about. And even like some of these training plans or systems are all about data and changes. Like, they still can't have a conversation with you, and they still can't get to know you. Like, that's a huge fundamental flaw that is impossible to fix. And even if the way they create, artificial intelligence, which I'm sure is in the future, like, those still don't have hearts. So sorry, they're still not going to be the same. Mm-hmm. But it's just it's taken. There's just kind of like the old school Micro Machine commercial rant that I went on earlier, talking about all like the confusing things about triathlon. That's just on the field. Like, that's just during training. That's not even it's probably minuscule compared to the ebbs and flows and thoughts and questions that athletes have in just their day-to-day life. It really is like starting over on a puzzle every single day. And the minute you think you got the border and the outline figured out, and I'm on the right track, I got this week, crushed it, got the outline filled in. Second week, I nailed it, got to fill this little bit in. I'm getting closer, I'm almost there. Next week, that was another really good week, man. I'm set. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to sign up for an Ironman. Life is good. I'm totally in. Let's do this. Filling in a bit more. All I got left is a center. Next week, bam. Job promotion, met a girl. See ya. Everything is different. New job, even though it's a good job, new job, which causes stress, because even good things are stressful. Like this weekend I'll be coaching and chatting with somebody, and we'll have a ton of athletes there. It's going to be stressful. Is it a good thing? Sure, but it's still stress. So things that are even good or new are stressful because they take away and they add energy and the decision making and different thoughts, or even anxiety about things that are good. And it takes time to learn different things. It's all about energy. And the same thing with new relationships. The same is applied. So now this whole schedule and whole thing you had kind of built in, you're setting yourself for success. Now you got to start totally, completely over. And that's best case scenario versus what happens a lot of times is, now I'm getting divorced and now I've lost a job. I don't know what to do with my life. And then you start over. So even if you have your puzzle almost filled in, or even it's like you're 2 or 3 pieces away, the next day or the next week that you wake up, it could be all scrambled back in a box, turned upside down, and duct tape together. And it's like starting a whole new training life in a whole new cycle. And so it's so much to navigate. It's so much to take on. It's so much to answer. And it can be, back to what I was saying about like setting yourself up so far out for a race, is that navigating that field is so hard. It's just so hard. And again, do we try to do that on the podcast? Yes. Like, that's one of the biggest reasons we try to be super black and white, is that there's it's a world of gray when it comes to so many things, and you never even, and to be honest, listen, most podcasts that you listen to, or that I listen to, sometimes when I hear them, I don't even know if I believe what you're saying, or you really believe it. You just say it because you have a sponsorship and a promotion and a thing you have to say, every single thing, no matter what. And if you don't, you're not going to get paid. Well, the beauty of us being able to do this for free is that we ain't got those. And we don't really have anybody to answer to except for the two of us, and to do the best that we can in every podcast. And that is to hopefully provide you with the most information we possibly can to help you make the best decisions for yourself, not based on Joe Schmo, or not based on a Ben Greenfield podcast where he says snorting coffee and then freezing yourself for 72 hours will help you live for 85 years longer and lower your body fat by 6% while also raising your watts by 120.
Yeah, I'll keep you posted on that one.
But you can also just wear this really fancy titanium bracelet made by bengreenfield.com and you will be ready, set, go. $19.99, call me. So you've got all that. So again, like the what we try to do is limit that and take as much noise out of it, even though we add noise in the beginning with some college football talk every once in a while, is to give you the opportunity to make these decisions for yourself and set yourself up to make these decisions with the best information that we can, based on our experiences, give you, and then let you run wild with it.
Because that's what we do. I mean, that's really what we do. I mean, if people could see our texts on a daily basis, we're basically digging in, trying to figure these things out all the time. And that's sort of what this podcast becomes, because I can't even tell you, the topic with regard to, the fundamental flaws in training plans is so valid, because you and I talk on a daily basis. I follow a training plan, but I make things my own, and that's because a lot of times because of what you're saying about how I may not sleep the greatest or whatever the case may be, and you just have to kind of be in touch with that, I mean, I'm lucky to have you as a sounding board all day, every day almost, and we go back and forth on these issues, and I just try to figure them out. But I think that's the point, is that while we are black and white with we try to be black and white, there's just a lot of gray, man. It's like, when I'm assigning some of these plans to club members that are just getting in our club, I'm like, hey, this is a training, it's a good training plan, but you still have to, make decisions in here, and a lot of them. And unfortunately, I can't necessarily be there every day for you or whatever. And that's what coaching is. And that's what you do so much that I see that I think a lot of people don't see. It's like, hey, here's your workout, go for it. And then there's no adjustments whatsoever. And the next thing you know, it's like, if you're, okay, I decided, I feel good today, and I decide to do an Ironman, and I'm 9 weeks out. So I'm going to go find a 16-week plan and go to week 9 and see if I feel like I'm up to that and start there.
And I'm behind, so you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to click the advanced button.
Right.
Because even though I ain't advanced, I've got to make up time and make up hours and make up fitness, so advance me.
Okay,
here
swim.
I go.
Yeah, I can do the swim, the bike. I'm pretty good. I'm way behind on that run, so I'm going to have to start with a big one. Got to start with a big one, prove that
advanced.
I'm the next thing you know,
hours.
You're struggling for the next 9 weeks.
Oh my God, it cost me for a 6-hour ride. I don't even know if I can do 3.
Yeah, well, one of the biggest things is I always try to impress on everybody is like, look, how you made the decision. The only goal now is to feel your absolute best on race day, and that's easier said than done, right? Mm. That doesn't mean that you need to go out today and build your base in 1 week and run, like you're saying, 40, 50 miles next week just to catch up to this plan. That's not the way to do it. Is it?
Your body doesn't... Kids, close your ears.
Okay.
Your body doesn't give a shit about what your mind is telling it it's behind on. All it knows is what it's done successfully, what it's prepared to do, and what it can do next. So you're jumping around of thoughts of, I missed this 15-miler and I missed this 13-miler, but this week calls for a 20. 20 it is. If I don't do 20 today, I'm not going to be ready on race day. It's like the biggest recipe for injury and overtraining and just continuing on that same cycle of can do, can't do, can't do, make myself do, can do, can't do, done, I give up, I quit. And it's just like your body just doesn't care. And we talked about this on like maybe a month or two ago on I think one of the more popular podcasts that we got feedback on was that race day training mentality of force feeding your body. Like, you think from the neck down your body has any idea you've got an Ironman in 4 weeks? Nope. It's just trying to stay alive and live, and it does what you tell it to do. Doesn't mean it's prepared for it, doesn't mean it can do it, but it's going to because your brain controls it. But it has no idea until you tell it to do something. It's just the same way that your heart and your lungs have no idea stress-wise and cannot differentiate between a 10-hour, 12-hour stressful work day in the ER versus a 6-mile run. Your heart doesn't know the difference. It just knows stress. Your body just knows stress. And to force feed it and to make yourself do these things, it's a total recipe for disaster. And while you might give yourself a pat on the back for being the ultimate weekend warrior and hashtag get it done, hashtag ER, or hashtag PR or ER, if you're one of those people, then eventually, and you're a person who PRs more in training than they do in the races, then usually you're probably overtrained. You're going to continue on that course, even though you might see okay results, they might actually be very poor based on what you're actually able to do if things were maybe constructed a little bit differently, or if like we all struggle with, we're a little more objective on what I need to be about. And so again, like that's when you adopt a mindset of completion and checking boxes of X, Y, and Z that has to be done, you totally wipe away and remove the ability of nuance and adapting to the person and what is good and what is not, and maybe what's missing from this athlete, because you can't. As an athlete, you're never satisfied. I think some athletes are, but most athletes are very, very rarely satisfied. So it's a tricky, like, as much as I love my job and I do, like, it's a very tricky, interesting relationship to manage relationships where neither one of you are really ever quote unquote satisfied. Like you're both in this together, you're both in this relationship together, you both want this to work together, and you're going towards this thing, but like you're never truly like satisfied. In terms of this is it, because there is really no end. If you're on a training plan, there's an end date, which again is why which is why I feel like athletes tend to gravitate towards this satisfaction of completion means means like a good thing, as in like if I'm coaching myself from my training plan, I set the date. Today I'm starting, in 18 weeks I'm going to finish. And then by the time I'm done with that, that's the best I can do because that's all I got, which may or may not be the case. But if you're coaching and you have that relationship, then you're really like neither of you again are really ever that satisfied, because you're always trying to find how can we continue how can we continue to be better and stay on this trend, because that's also fearful for some athletes. Like it's just amazing how fearful athletes also, as much as like they might complain after like 2 days of fatigue that they're not getting any better, or things are going backwards. So I went from a 9-minute mile to a 9:20. I think we need to do more track workout. The same can be said when athletes finally figure out that they're, I don't know, like a lot fitter than they ever really imagined they could ever be. And that's also difficult in terms of, I got an athlete last week, like 2 weeks out from a 70.3, who's like made huge gains. She commented on her training page, she was like, I don't even know who I am anymore. And it was solely based off of a really good workout. And then because that was a Friday, on a Wednesday, she wrote, I have absolutely no idea what I'm capable of anymore. Which means I have no idea how to pace except by feel. Mm-hmm. Like she's getting too, like, almost in her words, like getting too excited about her gains in fitness. And that's also scary, because then the control of the expectation, the control of an end result or an end day is now gone. And instead of being in cruise control and going from point A to point B with no new direction and no new feedback and no one in the car with you, now it's like, oh my God, I'm in a really uncomfortable but kind of cool Tesla that's driving me, and I don't even know where I'm going, but I think it's somewhere cool and I like where it is. I just don't know where I'm going to end up. And that, like, also again, like, loss of control is super stressful. But going back to what I was saying is that you're never satisfied as a coach. You're never satisfied that they've reached their peak or that everything is perfect, because once you figure out or think everything is perfect, then you've stopped coaching and now you're just okay with where they are and who they are instead of what they or you as a group can become down the road. And those are things that just leave athletes that are missing when athletes leave themselves on an island that can be, self-coaching, or following a training plan, is that you get lost. And again, yeah, that is the main reason why we started the club, was to offer the training plans that we've constructed at a very reasonable price, but you also get feedback. You get in terms of, you go in there, you monitor every day. It's also the two reasons why we added the two new options under training. So if you go to like crushingiron.com and click on coaching and then pricing, you'll see really, really good options in terms of, getting good week-to-week coaching for a lot less expensive, but still getting like the adjustments and movements that you might desire. So you're not training blind. You're not taking rights and lefts based on a hunch that might make you, you're trying to find your way. So you're taking around like, I think it's this way. I think it's this way. I'm going to take this right. Then you end up, like going off a ravine, and now you're toast, versus, having somebody help you with the GPS to get to the race destination of your choice.
Yeah. And we have in that plan already, we have beginners and people who have done several Ironman and they're trying to get better. So it kind of covers the gamut on skill levels, and it's important in both cases because I've seen so many people that are kind of in triathlon trying to get it going, and they get, in their own world, get into a training plan and just get completely overwhelmed by it. And it doesn't have to be that way, There can be adjustments made that are smart, and it's just so much better to have an open dialogue going when you're going through this stuff, especially if you're trying to get better and you can't figure it out, and or you're trying to just get into it and you can't figure it out.
And even if you're someone who likes to be on a training plan or likes to self-coach, like the best thing that you can do is to just be objective. And add things based on like the reality of the situation that you're actually in, and give yourself, like, don't just go based on what you see, based on who you are and what you've done. Not, the next week says I have to do this. You don't have to do anything. And if you had a week that was 20, not 20, well, some of them are, which is weird, but if you have a week where it's like 10 hours and you only were able to do 8, and the next week calls for 12, don't jump. Subtract the hours you missed the previous week. So instead of going for 12, go for 10. You don't have to cut sessions short, because that's not the point. The point isn't to remove sessions. The point is to reduce total volume. It's about total volume and stress. It's not about individual singular workouts. That it's a domino effect of stress and volume and intensity and how it's distributed. So don't distribute it by just removing a peg or removing a session. Manipulate it by, okay, well, I only did 2 hours of running this week, but next week calls for 3.5. So it's like a gigantic 80% jump in run volume. Maybe I should only jump from 2 hours to like 2:20, and base things on where I am and who I am now versus where I want to go. Not training your body where your race plan has you in 5 weeks, where you probably didn't even do the previous 5 weeks. That's all I got for today, man.
You sure?
Yeah. I kind of blacked out there for like 45 minutes. I don't really know what happened. But again, hope this is super helpful. I feel like it is, and again, that's what we try to do. If you can make it past the first 10 minutes of chit chat and banter and but let's be honest, if you weren't listening to the first 10 or 15 minutes of our friendly hangout chat for two best friends, then you'd be listening to some like ridiculously stupid money driven sponsorship commercials that you guys listen to every other podcast. So hey, we don't have that. We just sponsor each other, and hopefully we sponsor you.
Yeah, I mean, we've been getting pretty good actually about not mindlessly. We come in with a little bit of related to the sport chitter chatter out of the gate nowadays, it seems like. So
that's because it's a slow time of year.
It is?
Yeah, dude's just got baseball. Who the hell cares?
Oh, I got you. Well, I'm done with college football anyway, I think.
You say that every year that I've met you.
No, I know, but it's like
and you're done
it's
with
like a slow burn. Slow burn.
Year.
They're losing me with this transfers. All this, it's turning into free agency. It's just a matter of time before colleges are obsolete and they become
six
like
transfers, and then you're like, well, I don't know. I can see where there's some benefit to it.
I'm predicting colleges are going to be a thing of the past in 10 years.
Yeah, colleges you have to physically go to. That's
what I'm saying. And then all of a sudden it becomes like Alabama, becomes like the English soccer league.
Alabama? Well, Alabama has been getting crushed. No, not Clemson is the elite of elite. Alabama is like
all those teams are going to be. They're going to form a new league, and it's going to be like that English soccer league. It's going to be like this pro thing that is just going to be all about school names on jerseys. And it's going to be a professional situation. So, amateur sports, the only thing left really is triathlon, so why don't we just...
That's it, yep.
That's why I'm all in here, man.
Because everybody's got an elite age group team with, 98 sponsors and trucker hat requirements. But anyway, we'll be at Chattanooga 70.3. We'll also be back with you on Thursday for who knows what. It'll be exciting, though. If you want more info on all the other things that we do, you can go to crushingiron.com. Coaching, training packages, our club that we spoke briefly about, super awesome videos that Mike has put together, blog, info on the swim analysis, and then another awesome video Mike did about our May camp that we just had. June camp is sold out, so there aren't any spots for that, but we had two more people sign up for August camp last week. So if you want to get in, or you've been waiting or biding your time and just being a good old-fashioned procrastinator, I would hop on it. That's going to be sold out probably before the end of this month. And you can find information and videos on there. If you got questions about anything or the demise and the rise and fall of amateur sports, you can contact Mike, crushingiron@gmail.com. If you have any other questions directly for me and why I've been so hyper today, you can email me directly at c26coach@gmail.com.
That wraps up the Crushing Iron podcast for today.
See you on Thursday.
All right, buddy. See you, man.
See you, man.